You ping awake, you look at the clock, 2:47. The house is quiet, but your mind is anything but. There is chattering going on, wildfire. You're replaying conversations, analysing decisions, thinking about tomorrow's challenges, or wondering whether you've forgotten something important. You know that you're exhausted. You know that you need to go to sleep. But your mind refuses to switch off. It wants to have an Ibiza style party. If this sounds familiar, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. What it may mean and what it may be is a sign that you've been carrying more pressure than you're allowing yourself to acknowledge. Hi, I'm Cheryl and I'm the creator of the Heart to Heal method. I work with people experiencing anxiety, overwhelm, burnout and emotional pressure, including professionals, leaders, business owners and high achievers who often appear calm and capable on the outside while carrying a great deal internally. One of the most common things that I hear is, I'm fine during the day, but at night my mind just won't stop. And I understand that experience very personally. There was a period in my own life where I was carrying more responsibility than I realised. I was supporting family members, running a business, working another job, managing a difficult relationship, dealing with serious health challenges and trying to hold everything together for everyone else. During the day, I kept functioning. At night, my mind did the processing I hadn't given myself space and permission to do during the day. In this video, I'll explain why this happens, what your mind and your nervous system are actually doing, and how you can begin to reduce those late night thought loops. You know, the thing is that during the day, our attention is focused outwards. It's never focused in. And, you know, you're doing things like solving problems, managing responsibilities, making decisions, you know, you're responding to emails, you're supporting colleagues or clients or family or team members. Your mind is occupied with doing all these things, and then nighttime arrives. The distractions disappear and things start to get a little bit more quiet. The conversations have stopped. Maybe you've watched a film on TV, done a bit of a Netflix series, and then suddenly your brain has a thought and it's like, woof, got a bit of space, got a bit of space. Let me start thinking about all the things I've not processed during the day. The challenge is that a tired brain doesn't always process information rationally. And when you're exhausted, uncertainty can feel really, really big. Problems can feel really, really heavy. Questions can feel a lot more urgent. And at night time, your mind often moves into scanning mode. So it rewinds what happened. It will prepare you for what might happen, because it'll start thinking up scenarios and giving you answers to scenarios that haven't even happened. It'll try to protect you from any future problems. But the issue isn't that your mind is broken. The issue is often that your system has been running without enough recovery. You know, you're not giving yourself time to recharge them very vital batteries. Many people assume that nighttime overthinking is just, oh, I'm just anxious, I'm just overthinking. But sometimes it's not anxiety or overthinking at all. There is usually something that's much deeper going on underneath the surface that we don't really look at. Maybe it could be something like unprocessed stress. It could be emotional overload. It could be pressure that you've been accustomed to carrying. You know, it could be a fear of letting people down. It could be perfectionism. It could even be responsibility fatigue. I mean, people don't even think that that exists, but it does. It could be burnout. It could be self-doubt that's hidden beneath competence, because a lot of people are very good at hiding self-doubt, especially men. But one thing that I've learned both personally and professionally is that capable people often become experts at coping. You know, they keep showing up, they keep performing, they keep supporting people. And what happens is, because they can cope with it, nobody notices the pressure that's building underneath. And sometimes they don't even notice it themselves. And the problem with that is that the pressure doesn't just disappear because we ignore it. Eventually your mind will say, or your body even, will ask for some attention. And very often that attention is grabbed at 3 a.m. in the morning, because that's the quietest moment of your day. When this pattern becomes persistent, it begins to affect more than just your sleep. You know, you start to feel mentally exhausted. You know, you might find that you are snapping at people that you don't normally snap at. You find it difficult to be making decisions. You have a slightly elevated amount of anxiety. Your confidence might drop a little bit, and you just feel a little bit exhausted. For many high achieving performers, this becomes really frustrating, because externally, you know, they look really, really successful, yet internally everything feels harder than it should. And this is one of the reasons I speak so often about emotional resilience. Performance isn't just about what happens during working hours. It's about how effective your system recovers afterwards. You know, because people don't associate that these two things go together. Because without recovery, even highly capable people eventually start to run on empty. And once your tank is empty, it can be quite difficult sometimes to refill it. You know, it's a bit like having a leaky bucket. So the goal isn't to force your mind to stop thinking, because you can't stop it thinking. But what I want you to do is to understand why it's thinking so loudly. You know, what is it trying to tell you? What does it want you to take notice of? And, you know, you can quite often do this with journaling and stuff as well. But through my Heart to Heal method, I help people identify the pressure sitting underneath the overthinking. You know, and that often includes things like understanding personal stress patterns, because we all have them, regulating the nervous system more effectively, processing emotions rather than suppressing them, reducing, you know, internal overload, creating healthier boundaries, and building self-trust and emotional resilience. Because when you tackle the underlying pressure, it starts to reduce, and the mind often becomes quieter naturally. What I find with my clients is they'll say things like, I've noticed that my sleeping patterns are getting better. I'm doing less overthinking. I've got greater emotional steadiness. I have improved focus, and I feel more confident under pressure. And they often say as well that they have a stronger sense of calm and control. And that's not because they've learned to force their thoughts away and to push them or put them in a bag or a box or whatever it is. It's because they've addressed what those thoughts were trying to tell them. And this is why I say to people, you know, to write things down. Have a pad at the side of your bed. And if you do wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can write down what's on your mind. It does help. I promise it really does. So if you ever find yourself lying awake at night while your mind's running through every single possibility, every single responsibility, and even worst case scenarios, you're certainly not alone. So before you go, I want to leave you with one question. What responsibilities are you carrying that feel heavier than you're willing to admit? Now, I'd like you to think about that one, because a lot of people won't actually know what that is, not right away. Because sometimes the problem isn't the thinking. Sometimes it's the pressure beneath the thinking that's asking to be acknowledged. This is why I say write it down when they come into your mind at 3 o'clock, because you tend to write without naturally thinking about it. If this video resonates with you, subscribe and follow for more content on anxiety, emotional resilience, burnout recovery, well-being and sustainable high performance. You can find my weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Permission to Pause, and my monthly newsletter, Inner Compass, where I share deeper reflections and practical strategies. And if you would like to learn more about the Heart to Heal method or explore working with me, you'll find details in the description below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.